Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going over some May releases. If you haven't seen one of these before, I like to go over the new releases for the month that I am personally excited in. So this is not like a cumulative list of all the new releases. This is just the books that are on my personal radar. So I have 12 books that I want to talk about. And I will say these are not like the big titles for May. I always go to Goodreads and look at their new releases list to make sure I didn't miss anything. I wasn't interested in a book until like number 85 on the list. So if you're looking for some like the big releases that are coming out in May, this isn't the video for you because I really don't have them on here. But I do have a lot of indie books that I'm really excited about, and we're keeping things super chill. It has been a long, busy, full day, and this is like the fourth or fifth video that I am filming, and I'm tired. So we are sitting here with our blanket and my laptop, and we're just gonna figure out what all these books are together. So starting off with the first book on May 2nd, that is Mother's Day In by Lee Jiko. This is the sixth book in the Hollow Knight series, and it is a Mother's Day romance. This doesn't have a synopsis yet, but I do have the tropes listed here. So it says that this is a single mom, obsessive hero with a breeding kink, a slight age gap, a massage, and a sprinkle of praise. I absolutely adore the series. All of these follow a holiday, obviously, and it is just a really steamy, cute romance. Most of these are like slightly insta-lovey, but I am always on board with these romances, and they're always really steamy and great, and I love them. And they each have a very unique kink, and I'm very excited for this one. I love this series so much. After that, we have Best Men by Sydney Carter. I talked about this in my TBR, but I do have this on audio, so once I listen to this book, I will learn how to pronounce this author's name correctly, but I am pre-filming this video, so as of right now, I haven't listened to it yet. Hopefully by the time that you're seeing this, I have, because the day that this video is going up, this book is already out in the world. So this is an romance following one of our heroes who is living in New York City, and he has this best friend from childhood, and she is kind of like the flighty one, but she surprises him by telling him that she is getting married, and she asks him to be her man of honor. And when he goes to meet the fiance for the first time, he also meets the fiance's gay younger brother, and the two of them end up having a romance during the wedding. I love weddings so much. I love them in real life. I love them in books. So pretty much tell me that there is a wedding involved, and I am immediately intrigued. I just love weddings so much. I know that might be slightly unpopular because I know some people like really don't like going to weddings. I really love romance and I love to cry. So love me a good wedding. And this is also an romance written by a queer man. So I do want to mention that because I do read a lot of romances written by women. So I just wanted to mention that here. The last book on that day is Jana Goes Wild by Farah Haran. This is an author that I have heard of and seen around, but I haven't personally read from yet. And this is a book following a single mother, and she kind of lives life by the rules because she had like one wild night with her ex, and they ended up having a daughter together, but she ends up needing to go to this like destination wedding in Tanzania. Throughout that week, she kind of decides to let loose, and she's going to say yes to things. And throughout that week, she ends up having second chance romance with her ex. I love a good second chance romance, so I'm excited to give this one a try. On to May 9th, there are 3 books coming out that I really want to read. The first book on that day is Teacher of the Year by M.A. Wardle, and this is another romance, and this is a teacher-parent romance. So our main character is a kindergarten teacher, and he is like trying to win this Teacher of the Year award. And it sounds like maybe the school is struggling or something like that. The school needs him to win it as well. And when he comes back from like the winter break, he ends up having a new student, and he ends up hitting it off with that student's father. And the two of them end up having this friends to lovers romance, and it sounds really, really cute. It says Teacher of the Year is a steamy friends to lovers gay romance novel that explores the balance between friends, family, career, and relationships while trying to overcome trauma and deal with anxiety. This sounds so cute. This cover is absolutely everything. I love this artist. This artist did some artwork for Casey McQuiston and I believe Alexis Hall as well. And their stuff is so beautiful. After that, we have a Crown of Ivanglass by Claire Legrand. Look, this is still technically on this list. I originally put this on here because this is Claire Legrand's first adult novel, and I really, really loved this author's YA book, Sawkill Girls. But this has a 3.3 rating on Goodreads prior to its release date, which means that the people that wanted to read this the most and requested arcs don't love it. And that has me not so excited about this book. I'm still gonna give it a try because I do have an arc of it, but my expectations at this point are very, very low. So this is a fantasy romance, and we're following a heroine who lost her sister to this group at some point, and she harbors a lot of resentment and anger towards this group. And on top of that, she is unable to use her magic. Using her magic makes her really sick. And she ends up teaming up with this guy whose entire family was destroyed by a demon, and the two of them strike up a bargain to help each other. So she's going to help him infiltrate high society and so that he can exact his revenge, and he is going to help her exact her revenge. And the two of them end up uncovering a lot of secrets and things spiral out of control, and I'm sure a lot of magical shenanigans happens. Like I said, at this point, my expectations for this are minimal at best. At this point, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to DNF this, but I do still want to give it a try since I do have an arc of it. And I was really excited for this. And then the last book on this day is one that I'm ridiculously excited for, slash kind of sad. And it is the final book in the Stay a Spell series, which is Grim and Barrett by Juliet Cross. This is the final book, and I am so not ready for this series to be over. However, this is Clara's romance, and I have been waiting for Clara and Henry to be a thing for books at this point. If you haven't read from the series before, I'm not going to tell you about this book because spoilers, but each of these books follows one of the Savoy sisters, and they are all witches with different affinities, and each of them is getting their romance with a different paranormal being. So this one is a grim witch romance, and this is, like I said, one that has been hinted at for a very, very long time at this point. I think we first met Henry in book 2 maybe, so it has been a long time coming. And I'm very excited because from what I heard, Juliet said that this had to be the last book. And I'm really curious to know why that is. So I'm excited for this one. I absolutely can't wait. On to May 16th, we have Court of Undying Seasons by A.M. Strickland. This is so different than everything else on this list. It is so different than anything that I normally read because this is a YA vampire fantasy. But I read A.M. Strickland's last book, which was In the Ravenous Dark or something like that, and I really, really liked it. And I wanted to give their next book a try. I think this is their third book, but I didn't read their debut. It says that this is a lush, queer YA fantasy novel. It sounds like our heroine ends up volunteering to be taken to some sort of vampire court thing. And when you go there, you either become a vampire yourself or you end up becoming a human zombie or you die. She ends up becoming a vampire, and I believe she ends up having a romance with her vampire maker, sire, whatever you want to call it. And I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of political intrigue and things like that, a lot of secrets. It sounds great. I think it's going to be a good time. I'm sure it's going to be a quick, easy read, and I'm excited to give it a try. Hi, popping on super quick because Paladin by Onley James did get pushed back to the 16th. I think we all kind of figured that it would get pushed back, but it is going to be releasing on the 16th. This is the first spin-off of the Necessary Evil series, following the group of guys that works for Jericho's shop. They're not psychopaths, but they're all vigilante killers, and they are all getting their romances. This first book is Arson and Ever, and it does have quite a few content warnings for abuse. One of the main characters was trapped in a closet for the majority of his life, and he is suffering a lot of PTSD and trauma. It is one that I will be reading as soon as it drops onto my Kindle. I am part of Onley James's Patreon, so I should hopefully be getting this pretty early in May, and I absolutely cannot wait. The following day on May 17th, we have Take a Hike by Mimi Grace. This is technically the third book in the Lovestruck series, but I'm pretty sure all of these can be read as standalones. And in this one, we are following a heroine who is kind of like a carefree person, and she randomly inherits this like outdoor recreation center, and she decides on a whim that she is going to continue to own it. And so she travels to this center and starts to like manage this place. But one of the men that works there, I think he's like the archery trainer or something like that, he had intended to buy the place when it went up for sale. And now this random woman is here who knows nothing about the outdoors, and he suddenly has to answer to her. And so it sounds like they have an opposites attract, kind of enemies to lovers romance. It sounds really cute. The covers for this series are so adorable, and I want to give this one a try because I love the concept for this. On to the 23rd, there are 3 more books. First is The Duchess Takes a Husband by Harper St. George, which is the 4th and I think final book in the Gilded Age Heiress series. And this is following like the best friend of the siblings from the first book. And in one of the like first books, she ended up getting married off to this really terrible guy. In one of the previous books, her husband ends up dying, and now she is the Duchess, a widowed Duchess. But because she is American, she's kind of like an outcast. So even though she has this like really high title and she's like invited to everything, no one actually likes her. And she doesn't like anyone because she didn't choose this life in the first place. She was married off. And she is finally getting her romance. And I'm so glad we are getting her romance because I felt so bad for her in the first 3 books. So I'm glad she's getting her own HEA. And like I said, I think this is the final book in the series. And can we take a moment? The covers for the series are so freaking gorgeous. I love the like intricate dresses on all of these covers. But I'm really excited for this one. Like I said, this heroine needed her happily ever after the terrible stuff that happens to her in the first 3 books. After that is a book that I talked about in last month's, kind of, and that is The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberly Lemming. Not only did I get the date wrong, but this book also had a title change. So this was released in the UK already, but the US release date is May 23rd, and this did get picked up by a publisher. Turns out the publisher didn't like the word drugged in the title. Drunk, apparently totally fine. Drugged, too far. I did talk about this in the last video. This is the 3rd book in the Mead Mishaps series. I don't know who this one follows, but this series is kind of like a medieval-esque cozy fantasy. It's very funny and lighthearted, and all of these are following these villagers who live in the same village and the monsters who now inhabit, or demons, whatever you want to call it, that now inhabit this village as well after they saved all of the demons. And then the last book I have is That Summer Feeling by Bridget Morrissey, which comes out on May 30th. And this is a female-female romance set at a like adult summer camp. So I've gone back and forth on whether or not I want to read this, just because I read this author's debut and like didn't completely love it. I think I gave it like 2.5, 3 stars. However, the synopsis for this one just sounds so good, and I need to give it a try. So we are following this heroine who decides to go to this adult summer camp, and while she is there, she reconnects with a guy from her past and then ends up falling in love with his sister. I am like completely pulled in by that synopsis, and every time I question whether or not I'm going to pick this up, I reread that and I'm like, no, I need to read it. I need to read it. So that is all 12 books that I am personally looking forward to in the month of May. Let me know if there is anything that you are excited about, whether it's on this list, not on this list. Every single month I forget a book or two. So let me know if there's anything that you think I missed on this list, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.